Alrighty, folks, we're now hitting at 83% in our last 27 chairman package picks on my premium site. And the good news is we have another chairman package pick going off here today. And if you sign up for my full access, all-inclusive chairman package, you're going to get access to every single premium selection of mine, every single package, every single day for the next 30 days. And as an added bonus, you're also going to get access to my chairman podcast absolutely free. It's going to be included with your purchase. Now, you may be wondering what the difference is between what I do here on the free videos and what I do on my premium page. Well, what I do here on the free videos is I'll handicap the entire slate of games in any given sport, side, and total. And what I do on my premium page is, well, I actually share with you which one of these free plays I actually like the best. Now, if you don't need access to all of my premium selections, but maybe you could use like one a day, you may want to think about signing up for my $1.99 daily best play. It costs just $1.99 for 30 days of service. It gives you access to one premium selection of mine every single day for the next 30 days. The math works out to be just 6 cents a day. I'm 7-2 in my last 9 daily best plays. 4-0 in my last 4 NFL tier membership picks. And once again, folks, I'm hitting at 83% in my last 27 chairman package plays on my premium site. It's patreon.com/BrockPage. And I'll tell you what, guys, I'm really excited because we have a full slate of games. Got a great show for you. So let's go ahead and dive into it. Bucks, Pacers, 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Milwaukee's the 3-point favorite on the road, totals 256.5. Now, Milwaukee got the W in 8 out of their last 10, and they're actually the best field goal shooting team on the road. They're making a league-high 51% of their field goals in their travels. And, of course, a lot of that is thanks to leading scorer Giannis Antetokounmpo, who's making 60% of his attempts from the field. And speaking of offensive production, Dame Lillard, he's also dropping 25.5 points a game. And I'll tell you, that's certainly bad news for the Pacers because these guys are currently dead last in the NBA in guarding the field goal. They've actually got the highest defensive field goal percentage in the entire NBA. Defensive problems have been a consistent kind of Achilles heel for them. And I'll tell you, because of that, the Pacers do find themselves allowing over 124 points a game on average. Bruce Brown's questionable for Indy. Andrew Nembhard is also day-to-day. Meanwhile, for the Bucks on the other side, Chris Middleton's questionable. Green and Crowder are still out. 6 out of Milwaukee's last 10 ball games did get over the total. They also averaged 128 points a game in their last 10 meetings with the Pacers. So if you're into historical trends, certainly want to think about that one there. And no real surprise here, the over cashed in 70% of those 10 head-to-head meetings I just mentioned. Now, as far as this season's concerned, the Pacers are 12-4 to the over in the Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Give me the Bucks -3 over 256.5. Next game, Wizards, Cavaliers, 7 o'clock Eastern start time. Cleveland's -9.5, totals 239. And for a team laying nearly double digits, I do have concerns about Cleveland offensively. They're a bottom 5 3-point shooting team at home in the league. When it comes to second half scoring, not many teams are worse than Cleveland. These guys are in the bottom 5 in the league in second half points per game. And they're facing a Washington team who's got little problems getting to the hoop. These guys are in the top 5 in the East in field goals made per contest. And in their road games, the Wizards are a top 10 point producing team. Kyle Kuzma leads the roster in scoring. Tyus Jones makes most of the three-pointers. And injury-wise, the Wizards are mostly healthy at the moment. Danilo Gallinari, a little banged up right now. He's day-to-day. Meanwhile, for Cleveland on the other side, Jerome, Rubio, Garland, and Mobley, they're all still out for them. Now, 5 out of the Cavs' last 8 contests did get over the total. We're talking about overs against the likes of the Hawks, Magic, and Kings. Meanwhile, Washington, they're 64% to the over in their in-conference road games. Give me Washington plus 9.5, over 239. Next ball game, Thunder Hawks, 7:30 p.m. East. Atlanta's the 1-point favorite at home. Totals 246.5. And even though it's OKC who's in the second of a back-to-back here, and the Hawks are well rested, I do still have concerns about Atlanta in this spot. They lost 4 out of their last 5 contests. 122 points a game they allowed on average during that stretch. And I'll tell you, that's really been their problem this season, their defensive effort. These guys let their opponents make 50% of their field goals against them. And unfortunately for Atlanta, OKC's arguably the best shooting team in the game. They lead the league in shooting from the stripe. They also have the highest three-point percentage than any other team in the NBA. Williams and Holmgren, they're drilling over 40% of their three-pointers collectively. And of course, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he leads the roster in points. Now, injury-wise, Okongwu and Lundy are questionable for Atlanta. Hunter and Goye are still out. The Hawks have gone 60% to the over in their last 10. They're also 10-3 to the over at the State Farm Arena. Now, OKC saw the over cash in 6 out of their last 10 themselves. Give me OKC +1 over 246.5. Next contest, Nets Rockets, 8 o'clock Eastern start time. Houston's -6, totals 223. Now, the Rockets did get back on track with a New Year's Day win against Detroit. These guys have been really good offensively over the past handful of weeks. They're averaging 122 points a game in their last 9 contests. And of course, the Rockets clearly play their best basketball at the Toyota Center. These guys are 13-5 at home, and they've been real tough to score against there. They're actually allowing fewer points per game at home than any other team besides one. And they're taking on a Brooklyn squad who doesn't shoot very well themselves. These guys are a bottom 5 field goal shooting team in the East. And in their 17 road games this year, a lot of bad things have happened. The Nets have a .352 win percentage away from the Barclays Center. Now, injury-wise, Walker's still out for Brooklyn. Eson's questionable for the Rockets. Houston's currently 61% to the under in their own arena this year. Meanwhile, the Nets saw 5 out of their last 8 out-of-conference road games stay under the line. Give me Houston -6, under 223. Next matchup, Pels, T-Wolves, 8 o'clock Eastern tip. Minnesota's -7, totals 224. And as good as the T-Wolves have been at home, for some reason, I just don't feel great about them in this spot. They really don't score well on their own court. They're actually in the bottom 5 in the West in points per game in their own building. When it comes to second half scoring, these guys do tend to shut it down late. The T-Wolves are a bottom 10 second half scoring team. They're taking on a Pelicans club who play some pretty tough defense themselves. They're allowing fewer second quarter points per game than any other team in basketball. And in their last 3 ball games, the Pels have really put down the clamps. They've allowed just 99 points a game on average in their last 3 outings. Jonas Valanciunas, he's averaging just about double-digit rebounds a game, club leader in blocks. And of course, CJ McCollum, he leads the roster in steals per game. 43% shooting from 3 land on offense for McCollum as well. Now, injury-wise, Matt Ryan's still out. Trey Murphy's questionable. Meanwhile, for the T-Wolves, Jalen Clark is out with an Achilles. 4 out of Minnesota's last 5 outings did fall under the number. Unders against the likes of the Knicks, Lakers, and Mavericks. They're also 67% to the under in the Target Center. Now, the Pels on the other side, they are 7-4 to the under in their in-conference road trips. Give me the Pelicans +7, under 224. Next game, Raptors, Grizzlies, 8 o'clock East. Memphis is 1.5, totals 232. And out of 15 contests in the FedEx Forum this year, the Grizzlies have managed to win only 3 times. They're dead last in the NBA in points per game at home. When it comes to shooting from the field, nobody else is worse than these guys. They're actually dead last in offensive field goal percentage. Now, they're taking on a Toronto team who does tend to play some good defense in spots. They're in the top 10 in defensive points in the second quarter. When it comes to offensive production, These guys do have some areas to build on here. They're a solid offensive rebounding team. When it comes to second half scoring, well, they're in the top 10 in that category as well. Pascal Siakam averages 22 points a game. Scotty Barnes is drilling nearly 40% of his three-pointers. Now, injury-wise, they are mostly healthy except for Christian Koloko. Meanwhile, for Memphis, Brandon Clark still out for them. Rose and Morant questionable as well. The Grizzlies are 11-4 to the under in their own arena. Meanwhile, Toronto saw 4 out of their last 7 out-of-conference games stay under the line. Give me the Raptors plus 1.5, under 232. Next matchup, Bulls-Knicks, 8:30 Eastern tip-off. New York is -9, totals 218.5. Now, the Knicks are playing their best basketball at MSG. They're 9-4 on their own court, 62% against the number in those home games. When it comes to defensive play, you really can't out-rebound these guys. New York's the second best defensive rebounding team in the game right now. And of course, they're facing a Chicago club who's one of the worst rebounding teams in the Eastern Conference. These guys are actually a bottom 10 rebounding team in the entire league. And out of 15 road games, the Bulls got the W only 4 times. And the majority of that is due to some poor offensive effort. These guys average fewer first quarter points than any other team in the league. Really, they tend to bury themselves early. Now, injury-wise, Bynum, Williams, and White are questionable. Craig, Ball, Levine, and Vucevic are still inactive. The Bulls saw their last 6 straight all stay under the number. Unders against the likes of the Sixers, Pacers, and Hawks. Meanwhile, 5 out of the Knicks' last 8 stayed under the total themselves. Give me the Knicks -9, under 218.5. Next contest, Blazers, Mavericks, 8:30 East. Dallas is 11.5, totals 235. Now, the Mavs should be able to take care of business here. They're a top 5 point-producing team in the West. And, of course, most of that is spearheaded by Luka Doncic. He leads the Western Conference in points per game. Now, Kyrie Irving's also scoring 22.5 points a game himself. And as a team, the Mavs are drilling nearly 16 three-pointers per game. Now, they're facing a Portland squad who does struggle a bit on D. They're a bottom 5 defensive rebounding team in the West. And they're also letting their competition make nearly 50% of their field goals against them. But the real problem with the Blazers has been their offensive output, or lack thereof. These guys average fewer points a game than any other team besides Memphis. Now, injury-wise, Simons, Brown, Kamara, and Reith are questionable. DeAndre Ayton's also been scratched. Meanwhile, for the Mavs on the other side, Dante Exum is questionable with that foot. 6 out of Dallas's last 8 ball games fell under the total. Unders against the likes of the Jazz, T-Wolves, and Cavaliers. Meanwhile, 5 out of Portland's last 8 contests fell under the total themselves. Give them the Mavericks -11.5, under 235. Next game, Pistons, Jazz, 9 o'clock East. Utah's -8, totals 240. And I'll tell you, I actually think this is a pretty generous number for Utah bettors. They've been playing some really good basketball recently. They're 7-3 in their last 10, and they're actually they were really good against the number during that time frame. They covered in 80% of those ball games. And speaking of the point spread, this is the best covering team at home in the game. They're 12-3 against the spread in Salt Lake City. Good for 80% in that category. And of course, they're facing a Pistons squad on the other side who lost 16 of 17 on the road this year. 124 points a game they're allowing in those road games. When it comes to offensive production, these guys have been little threat shooting the 3 ball. Now, injury-wise, Morris and Stewart are still out. When it comes to the total, 8 out of the Pistons' last 10 ball games did get over the total. They're also 12-5 to the over away from their home court. The Jazz on the other side, they saw overs recently against the likes of the Spurs, Raptors, and Cavs. Give me the Jazz -8, over 240. Next game, Clippers, Suns, 9 o'clock Eastern tip-off. The Clippers are the 3-point favorite on the road. Totals 233.5. Now the Clips got the W in 8 out of their last 10. They covered the point spread in 70% of those contests. When it comes to offensive production, LA's shot very well away from home. The Clippers are a top 3 field goal shooting team in their travels. Kawhi Leonard's leading the roster in points per game, 42% shooting from three-land. Meanwhile, James Harden and Norm Powell, they're both drilling well over 42% of their three-pointers collectively. And they're facing a Phoenix team who can't cover a number to save their lives. These guys failed to cover in 8 out of their last 10. And they've been horrible against the number at home. Out of 19 ball games in their own arena, well, these guys have covered in just 31% of those matchups. And the Suns' biggest problem area has been fourth quarter scoring. These guys are dead last in the NBA in fourth quarter points per game, really shutting it down late in ball games here. And of course, more bad news. This could potentially impact that. Kevin Durant, he has been scratched from the lineup here today. KD's battling a hammy injury. Now, total-wise, 7 out of the Suns' last 10 outings did stay under the total. Unders against the likes of the Blazers, Magic, and Mavericks. The Clippers on the other side, they saw their last 3 straight stay under the total themselves. Give the Clippers -3, under 233.5. All right, next ball game, Heat Lakers, 10 o'clock Eastern start time. The Lakers are -5.5, totals 228 and a hook. Now, the Lakers have played some pretty tough defense on their own court this year. They're in the top 3 in defensive points per game at home. And no real shock, they have the second lowest defensive field goal percentage at home in the NBA. They're facing a Miami team who lost their last 2 straight. And they continue to struggle a bit on offense. They're a bottom 3 field goal making team. And they also tend to shut it down late in games. Miami's nearly dead last in the NBA in fourth quarter scoring. Now, injury-wise, Jimmy Butler is still out for the Heat. Richardson and Martin are questionable as well. Meanwhile, for the Lakers on the other side, Russell's questionable. Hachimura is out. LA's currently 11-5 to the under in front of their own fans. Meanwhile, Miami saw 5 out of their last 6 out-of-conference road games stay under the total themselves. Give me the Lakers -5.5, under 228 and a hook. And with that, folks, we're going to jump into our next and final breakdown for the video. Going to be in that Magic Kings game, 10 o'clock Eastern tip. Sacramento's -5 at home, totals 231. Now, the Kings do score a lot of points at the Golden One Center. They're a top 5 point-producing team in the Western Conference. And a lot of that is thanks to leading scorer De'Aaron Fox. He's averaging 30 points a game and makes 40% of his three-pointers. Domantas Sabonis is also second on the roster in scoring, first in the league in rebounds. Now, they're facing an Orlando club who does have issues on the offensive end of the court. These guys have been literally no threat shooting it from downtown. These guys are currently dead last in the entire NBA in made three-pointers per game. They also tend to shut it down late. They're a bottom 5 point-producing team in the second half in the East. Joe Ingles is out for the Magic. Isaac Fultz and Harris still inactive. 6 out of Orlando's last 9 ball games also fell under the total. They're currently 70% to the under against Western Conference opponents. Now, 5 out of the Kings' last 6 stayed under the line themselves. Give me Sacramento -5, under 231. And with that, folks, now it's time for our quick pick recap. Give me the Bucks -3 over 256.5. Wizards +9.5 over 239. OKC +1 over 246.5. I'm hitting at 83% my last 27 chairman package picks on my premium page. And if you sign up for that package here today, you're going to get full access to my premium page every single day for the next 30 days. The link for my site is in my bio. Rockets -6 under 223. Pelicans +7 under 224. Raptors +1.5 under 232. Knicks -9, under 218.5. Mavericks -11.5, under 235. Jazz -8, over 240. Clippers -3, under 233.5. Lakers -5.5, under 228 and a hook. With my next and final free pick for the video, give me the Kings -5, under 231.